Good evening. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Here to talk about Musgrave and Reed, obviously. Excited. We'll start with Musgrave. Big, fast tight end that we took out of Oregon State. Excited about what he brings to the table in terms of speed, ability to stretch the field. Good kid, football background. He's got a relative that's the offensive coordinator at Cal, comes from a football background, smart kid, wired right. Reed, versatile, gives you some special teams value as a punt returner. Can play in the slot, can play outside. Strong, and again, a guy who is wired right and brings an element of toughness and competitiveness to that room. So excited to add those two guys, and with that, I'll open it up.
Jon-Eric, what made you guys comfortable with what Musgrave can do coming off that significant injury he had last year?
I think the going back a year and watching that tape, and then also watching him at the Senior Bowl, the Combine, and just kind of the whole process, feeling like as the process evolved that we weren't going to have any long-term concerns with that knee, and yeah.
Defense first yesterday. I know the feeling on the outside is day two, new quarterback, got to stock up weapons. Inside, did it have that feeling when you guys arrived at work today that you got to go get some Georgia targets?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you're going to have a quarterback that's under center for the first time, I think you want to surround him with playmakers. So that was definitely part of the conversation. It fell to us that way. We stayed true to the board. And it was exciting to get the opportunity to surround Jordan with two guys we really like. But yes, that was part of the conversation. But we were looking elsewhere too if need be.
With Reed, it looks like his numbers were significantly better in 2021 than 2022. I know injuries were a little bit of a factor, but what do you think explained that?
I think he came back to be the guy this year. He had an opportunity to come back last year, and he came back. He was more the focal point. I mean, there's not much to that. I just think he was more of a focal point within the offense, had more opportunities.
Can you see Reed more kind of inside slot? Can he go both? Can he play outside?
Reed?
Yeah. Sorry, Reed.
Yes, yeah, we feel like he can do both. I think he can play inside. I think he complements the two guys we have coming back in Christian and Rome really well. But yeah, we feel like he's versatile enough to play both, and Matt's pretty creative with those guys. Can do some of the jet sweep stuff, and again can do some of the return stuff and special teams as well. So that was part of the like for him. We felt like he was a pretty versatile player.
With Musgrave, how much of him is projection compared to him being ready to go? I mean, he had 47 catches in his career, which isn't a whole lot, but obviously that's numbers, right?
Yeah, that's a fair question. It's always projection with all these guys. I understand what you're saying in terms of he didn't have the most productive college career, but we really like the skill set. We again, watching that kid move around, watching him block, watching him run routes, we feel like there's a ton of upside. I watched Goody's press conference last night, and he touched on Ben S. and just kind of the upside. Kind of the same conversation with him. Like, what I mean? We feel like where he is now and where he can go is exciting. There's a lot of growth to be had there, and think he's going to come in and help us right away, and think he will only grow and get better as time evolves.
I know you said you feel comfortable with the knee, but he only played 10 games once as for your career. Long term, is there any concern over the medical, whether he can hold up?
There's not. No, we ran the gamut on that. I mean, obviously none of us have a crystal ball. You never know with any of these guys, but no, to answer your question, there's not a long-term concern.
Why is Reed successful?
What's your sense of just how eager he is to get back at it after having to miss?
Yeah, we had a great interaction with him at the Combine. You can feel it when you talk to the kid. He's ready. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's ready to prove to the football world that he is a very good player and that he can stay healthy. Yeah, I mean, to answer your question, I think he's eager and itching to get going and kind of show that he can play a full season and be a very good player for a full season.
What is it about Reed that allows him at that size to still go outside? Because obviously the height-wise would suggest more inside.
He's strong and he's fast. I mean, if you just want to simplify it, he's got exceptional strength for a smaller framed player, and then he can run. He's got good tempo. I mean, the clock showed it. I believe we had him at 4.37. But more importantly, he plays fast. He's got good tempo, and he's quick. You know, he can get in and out of breaks. So obviously outside the numbers, the speed comes into play, but inside he's strong and he can get in and out of breaks, which is going to help him create some separation. And again, it's exciting to see what he's going to do with the other two young players. And I'll throw Samari in there as well. You know, we're excited about Samari coming back and what he can bring to the table. So we like our group.
Eric, it was everybody said deep tight end class, right? So he was the fourth guy taken.
Right.
How does Luke compare? What's, in your opinion, what sets him apart maybe from that group of guys that were probably going to go in the first?
Yeah, I mean, so you know, it's a flavor thing to a point. I mean, there were a lot of really good players in this draft class at the tight end position. You know, if you ask me what separates him, vertical speed. I mean, I think that's you guys see it. Everybody's talked about it. That's not to take away from the other guys that are in this class. Everybody has a different skill set, but what kind of sets him apart from the rest of the class would be just the vertical speed, the ability to stretch the field.
Historically, rookie tight ends don't necessarily do all that much that first year. What about this guy makes you think that he could be outside the norm there?
I would say first start with the traits. He's big, he can run, and then he's smart, he's tough. You know, you talk to the folks at Oregon State, they give him very good recommendations. I mean, this kid likes to practice, he likes to play. Again, he's got a good football mind. I think he'll pick things up quick. He's a team player. I think he's going to fit in the locker room. I think when you start checking the boxes, he's got the things that he needs to have both physically and mentally that are going to allow him to excel. You know, and again, you know, I think the player that you see year one and year three, although I think he will be a good player year one, I think could be vastly different. I think he's got that kind of growth potential. I think his best ball is ahead of him. He hasn't, I mean, we all know he hadn't played a ton of ball yet, you know, for reasons that weren't his fault, but he's got a ton of upside, and, you know, he's got to get out there and do it. There's no guarantees with any of these guys. He's got to get out there and do it, but we're excited about where he can go.
You guys traded down twice from 45 before getting Reed. Were those anxious moments? Was he the guy that you guys were eyeing both times? Or?
No, you know, I think we're prepared. You look at the board was sitting strong. I won't get too into the details. I'll let kind of Goody handle the trade scenarios in detail, but we were prepared. We felt good. We were calm, and you know, we like where the board was sitting, and there were options, so we were in a good spot.
Thank you, guys. Tight end this year, how deep were they? I mean, and do you get that sense during the season, or is it till February you actually start putting together a board to know how deep a position is?
I mean, it's a year-long process. So obviously, the longer you go, the more information you obtain. You know, whether it's all-star games and then the combine, and you got your 30 visits, and at every touch point, you get more and more comfortable. You knew in the fall it was going to be a pretty good class. I think when you got into the spring, you really started to see, like, wow, this has got a chance to be a special class in terms of depth, the volume of it, you know. Now, again, we'll see where it goes. You know, nobody's played a game yet, but it's a good class, and you know, I think those guys, you'll see a lot of good football out of the tight ends that were coming out of this class.